All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transition us to live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, hi, how's it going? My name is RUBIEHART, and I am so excited to be playing for you my favorite game of all time this morning, Shadow of the Colossus. So, if you have never had the chance to play this game before, absolutely gorgeous. Originally came out for the PS2, then was ported over to the PS3 as an HD remaster with the first game in the series, Eco. And then Bluepoint got their hands on it and made this version. So I'm going to go ahead and count this down. It's going to start as soon as I click normal. So we will be starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so as this first part goes, so as was said before, my name's RUBIEHART, they, she. I am a gender fluid speedrunner, actor, streamer, multidisciplinary theater artist based in the DC Metro. And my host and wonderful fellow commentary is going to be provided by, let me see, by Sporadic Erratic. I almost called
that's
you.
me.
Yep, I almost called you for some reason Sporadic Mechanic, and I was like, that's wrong. I don't know what that is.
That's false advertising. That's what that is.
100%. Okay,
We'll
so
not be able to fix anything.
So, Sporadic, you said that you've seen a speedrun of this game, but how much of this game do you actually know about, like plot-wise and, and other
honestly,
stuff?
like I remember when this game came out, and it was the most beautiful game that I never played. Like all of my friends were playing it, and I watched all of my friends play it a lot, and I didn't actually play it myself. And so I have seen a lot of gameplay of this game.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's really good to know for context. So, if you ever get the chance to do it, it's available for so many consoles that there are so many ways to play it. So definitely do if you can. Also, I can attest that not only are the visuals amazing, but like the music is gorgeous, the fights are awesome. So for anyone who's not familiar, the basic plot of this game is you come to this land known as the Forbidden Land, playing as this character named Wander, who I'm controlling here. Now, Wander basically had a young dead girl with him when he entered this place and said to this ancient god, hey, can you bring this girl back to life? I understand you have that power. And the god's response is, sure, but my power is trapped inside of these 17 huge monsters, these colossi, so you have to kill them first, and then my power will be released. But it's going to take a toll on you. So the entire game, you don't fight grunts, you don't fight side bosses, you just fight the 16 main colossi. And every single one of them are like different sizes, have different behavioral patterns, and a lot of them have weak spots. So what I did there in order to take down this Colossus is oh no! Wonder, why would you do this? Okay, so to explain what I was trying to do there, that unfortunately didn't go as planned. So all of the colossi have weak spots in different areas of their body, and that's what allows you to climb up them once you actually go to mount the Colossus. Now, this Colossus, Valus, has a weak spot on the back of his ankle, and the reason that I'm stabbing his leg twice is that's going to bring him to a knee. Now, the ideal way to do this strategy is in that initial cutscene. Valus does the same animation, and you can move during that cutscene. So what we'll do is jump onto the face or the chest, and then get up to this final sigil to do the rest of damage and be all set. Unfortunately, I got stuck behind the foot, which sometimes happens if you can't see Wander quite as well. But I was able to recover that, get on his chest, and just like that, the first Colossus is already down. So to explain just a few of the strats that go into that fight in particular that you'll hear me reference and talk about a lot during the rest of the run. One of them is called a plant. So if you noticed when I grabbed onto the head of Valus, he wasn't going to be able to shake me, just like no matter how much he moved around. And that's because there are certain places on the Colossi you can grab, and for some reason it won't shake you as long as you don't shift around too much. And then for the final stabs, I did a jump stab because that actually takes you into the next cutscene immediately, rather than going into slow motion and taking up a few seconds of in-game time, which is what we use to calculate on the charts what is a good run and what is not such a good run. So let me see. Okay, awesome. So once I get on this horse, the next Colossus we're going to be headed to is called Quadratus. I have nicknames for them all, so I call him my boar boy. And the first one is my bear boy. Yes, I'm not kidding. That is a thing. So, oh god, yeah. I also,
okay, wait. Before we get any further, can we remind everybody of the donation incentive that we have going on?
Oh my, yes,
for your horse.
I completely forgot.
We have a very special, we have a very special incentive going on during this run. For every $5 that you donate, Ruby will pet the horse.
Yes.
So get those donations in to see those good horse pets.
And in case you need any additional incentive, my horse's name is Agro. She is a very good girl. She has been through this run with me so much. I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. So yes, if you want me to pet the horse multiple times, please donate. And also just in general, the reason I wanted to do Mid-Sprayed Spink Fling is because they are raising money for a really, really good cause, basically helping musicians who have struggled during the course of pandemic, because so many artists have struggled. And as a professional actor and musician myself who lives with music teachers, that is such an important cause to me and my own personally. So please give money if you can. Okay, so getting into this Colossus. So Quadratus, the way that you normally mount this Colossus is he has some of those weak spots actually directly on the bottom of his hooves. So what you normally do is just walk all the way down to this beach, shoot the foot, his leg drops, and then you can climb up. But one thing that's really convenient about this version is, for some reason, if you are standing on just the right spot on the cliff that I was on above, you can actually get the cutscene that starts the fight to activate while you're up there, and then just jump directly onto the back of the Colossus. So let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna take out this final butt sigil and done. All right, there's 2 Colossi down already. So this would be a perfect time to read any donations if we have any.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We have multiple donations. Just give me a hot second. And here, all right, this is going to be a little bit of a test of my French accent, which has been butt recently. However, we have all kinds of donations coming in from Le Baguetterie Stream, including, La Zezette Capu, I hope I have said your name correctly, donated $5 and said, Mais quel beau jeu, mes amis, which is, what a beautiful game, my friends.
Amazing! I love it. And for you, I will make sure to pet the horse, and merci. Let's see. French is actually a language. There are a few really incredible speedrunners in the community for the Team Eco speedruns who are from France. So I've been trying to do Duolingo classes to learn French just throughout the course of pandemic. So I only know a few base sentences, but I'm learning. So before we actually get started towards the next Colossus, here's a pet. Amazing. Okay, oh god, so the next Colossus I'm headed to, I refer to as the Warrior. His name is Gaius. And actually, okay, so fun fact, so the very first marathon that I did was I ran in Fleet Fatales for Games Done Quick. And one of my best friends, in order to help me train, we came up with a playlist of a bunch of different songs that we associated with each fight. So whenever I practiced, I would play those songs. So the next fight coming up, the Colossus, or the name that we associate with it, is the Space Jam, because there is a trick we call Space Jam or the Gaius launch, and the song is too appropriate for the fight. With Gaius, what's going to happen is the way that you normally defeat him is he has a metal plate right in the center of his arena, and he has a sword that's attached to his arm, and will use that to basically trick him into hitting that center plating so that it breaks his armor, and you're kind of given a path to climb up rather than being hindered by an arm guard he's wearing and by a neck guard. But because, you know, I'm a speedrunner, I'm not going to do that. What's going to happen instead is once I get up to the arena, and I'll kind of explain this more quickly as the fight goes, he will lower his sword in such a way that you can get yourself to launch from the bottom of the sword all the way to the top of his head, if you do it right. But it's also one of the hardest tricks in the run. So, like, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it goes well. But also, if you've never played this game, but you've seen any kind of poster art, Gaius and then the first Colossus Valus are the two that, like, there is art of probably more than any of the other Colossi, just in general public media. Okay, fantastic. And one thing I will say about the Blue Point version of this game that is just absolutely incredible, they did a really amazing job of the original version of the game couldn't actually fully run on the PS2. So when we got the PS3 version, it gave people more of an idea of how high quality they wanted the graphics to be initially. And Bluepoint just taking it and giving it all new gen assets is just... Every time I play this game, I can't help but look at a certain part of it and go, oh my god, this game is so pretty! Because it is. Okay, I'm gonna see if I don't miss this jump really quick. That's a relatively easy jump once you actually get into the speed run, but if you're a casual player, that jump is just the bane of everyone's existence, and I missed it once in a speed run and felt so ashamed. Okay, so with this Colossus, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna pull out my bow and take just a few steps forward. And as he's approaching me, there's actually a sigil on his stomach. So I don't need to see it to know where it is, just because I've done this fight enough. So I'm gonna hit that stomach sigil with as many arrows as I possibly can. And once Gaius's hammer comes down, I'm just gonna lay myself right in this dust pile, and let me see if I can get these jumps. Oh, no! Oh no! Okay, well, unfortunately, the jump didn't pop off as well as I would like. And I was gonna say I stayed on the hammer, and then he memed me. Wow, Gaius, this is really the way we're gonna be today? Babe.
See, this was one reason I definitely watched a lot of my friends run this rather than run it, because they all talked about how difficult it was to pull this stuff off, and I was like, so I think that my level of calm will be better if I watch somebody play this.
No, honestly, that's fair. I will say one thing that, like, part of the reason I love the speedrun as much as I do is because you never know what's going to happen. Part of the fun of the speedrun is you can learn the hardest tricks in the book, but you still need to know the backup strats, because everything is so input specific that if you miss a single thing, you have to know how to recover it. So the nice thing is here, I'm gonna make sure to just keep holding on and staying on this hammer. And there is an alternate version of the trick. He's gonna move his hammer in such a way that once I get it at the right angle, I'm gonna be able to run and just jump directly onto the stomach over here. So there we go, just like that, I'm able to still skip that arm guard even though I missed the initial launch. So now that I've done enough arrow hits, I've done basically 1 stab's worth of damage to the stomach sigil. So that saves me time, and there's one less, one less stab I have to do. And I'm able to jump just immediately over to the other arm, and I'm gonna use this to get up to the head. Whenever Gaius wants to stop being a butt, please, thank you. Me yelling at them and calling them really dumb names is just kind of a thing at this point. So if something goes wrong on one of the fights, just be prepared for that. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get the plant here, but the plant on Gaius's head sometimes likes to not cooperate. Aha! There it is! Okay, amazing. So now that I've got the plant, he's not going to be able to shake me unless he turns his head completely upside down. But I'm pretty sure that we're going to get it just before that animation. Perfect. Okay, so there is the third Colossus. Down. Ha! Yeah, honestly... some people not wanting to play this game because of how difficult it is, I get. And did any of your friends ever play it on hard mode?
You know, honestly, I can't remember because this game came out quite a while ago, so...
No, that is totally fair. So, the reason I ask is, the Colossi are already hard as it is on normal. If you run it on hard, not only do some of the Colossi have extra sigils, but you have to do about twice as much damage, or 1.5 times as much damage to each sigil. And they have extra animations to make it easier to get thrown off. And you don't get any additional stamina, so any more stamina you would have on normal. So a lot of hard mode when running this game is fighting to get every animation frame perfect so you don't run out of stamina before being able to get into one cycle of the fight. It's pretty bonkers. And actually, this is going to be restreamed in German and Japanese, and 2 really awesome runners in the community, one who's found a lot of glitches in the game, and then one who is the world record holder for any percent hard, are going to be the ones commentating those. So the German restream is going to be commentated by Tic Tac, who, like, taught me so many of the tricks I know. So thank you, Tic Tac. And Gucci is the other runner who has found a bunch of glitches in the game. Okay, so the next Colossus I'm headed towards. Sporadic, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor on this next fight. Everyone I've talked to has said, I call this Colossus Horsey Boy, but people have called it a giraffe, a llama, a dragon, a elk, a deer, just a million things. So, like, tell me what animal you think it is once we actually get up to it, because I feel like none of us can actually decide.
All right, I'll be the tiebreaker.
Amazing.
I'll shoulder this burden. But in the meantime, do we have time for more donations? Because we have more donations.
Oh my god, yes, please hit me with it.
All right, so La Zezette à Capu has been very generous. They said un stream à regarder par la partie sporadique et non tigeuse and donated another $5.
Oh my god, freaking amazing. Thank you so much for the donations. All right, and here, we have time for like one more if we've got another.
Well, of course, La Zezette à Capu did not stop there. With another $1, they're coming in here with the French puns. Pourquoi vert? Parce que je suis de Nevers, de Nevers. And so the joke there is, oh, I didn't even translate the previous. Anyway. Why green? Because I'm from Nevers, and then de Nevers is a green bow. And so it's a de Nevers, de Nevers. There you go. Enjoy the French puns, y'all.
Oh my god, no! Everything has gone wrong. Thank you for the donations, but I missed the jump onto this Colossus. So this Colossus, known as Phaedra or Phaedra, as we call her in the community, because we love her, even though she also can be really annoying to get on top of. So this is the Colossus that I'm talking about. That could be a million different animals. The way that you...
All right, that's clearly a camel.
It's a camel.
That's
okay.
my...
All right, amazing. Yeah, you know what?
Llama? Wait, elk?
Yeah, like, you understand why everyone just constantly calls it different animals. There are so many different traits. Okay, so the way that you normally beat this fight, and I am doing a very poor job, which is unfortunate. With this Colossus, normally there are a bunch of bunkers behind me that you would use to trick the Colossus into looking down and trying to figure out where you are. However, what I'm going to do instead is I can launch myself at the feet at a certain angle that I am not getting right now, which is very unfortunate. But if you do that, you're able to just get directly onto the back of the Colossus rather than doing a million animations to try and trick the Colossus. The problem is, in Boss Rush, it's actually really easy to recover if you happen to miss this trick. But in any percent, it's very hard. But finally, okay, I'm on the ankle. Now I just need to get to the back part of the leg. So let's see. I'm gonna let Phaedra just like get a little angsty here for a second, because you know that's in her nature. Okay, awesome. All right, and once I'm up here, no, I hate everything. Okay, okay. So if that had gone right, if anything in this run had gone right, So the way that you would basically use that ankle jump is to get onto the ladder that is on the butt. Usually that's the thing that you need to see lower in order to get onto the Colossus. But I am just having a really hard time of it this morning, which is very unfortunate. I'm going to blame this on the fact that I am not a morning person. And getting up this early for me is an accomplishment. So, like, the fact that I'm even getting some of the tricks, I will be proud of. I'm going to try this one more time. Oh, no, babe! Babe, I swear, I know that the big horse is scary, but I need you. I literally can't do this trick without you. Thank you. Oh my god. Okay, if I don't get it in one more second, then I might actually have to do the casual strat, which is really unfortunate. Let me see. I swear, y'all, I am good at this game. I swear. Let me see. Come on, hun. Babe. I'm just gonna hope that the memes at the beginning of the run means that it's gonna get nicer later. Oh my god, yes, okay. Woo-hoo-hoo! And getting to the second part of the ankle. Good. Yes. Wow, okay, that was way, way longer than I like. Typically I get that first, maybe second try, so that was just a whole can of memes that we opened. But that's okay. Now that I am on the Colossus, the next thing that's going to happen is you can probably see this weak spot on the back of the neck. So all I need to do is stab that like twice, and that's going to get Phaedra to bow her head. So let me see. All right, whenever you're ready, babe. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So now that I'm here, I should be able to just stab all the way home. And I got like a little baby jump stab there, which was actually really nice. But let me see. I want to make sure that I'm in a plant. Okay, awesome. Now that I'm in the plant, I should just be able to stab this all the way home. Okay, and final sexy slash, done. Okay. Wow, this is one thing that is unfortunate about speedruns is like, no matter how much you plan and practice, sometimes you get memes like that, but what can you do? But yes, if you saw those bunkers in the background, those are the tunnels that I would have used if I was playing this casually in order to draw the attention of the Colossus and either jump onto the beard of the camel, is what you said? I think
that is correct. That was camel.
Amazing.
That is definitely camel. Final answer.
I honestly love it, and I can see it. Just the fact that it doesn't have a hump in the middle is what's throwing me. Are there humpless camels?
I believe so.
Okay, cool. Well then, that absolutely tracks. Okay, and now would be a really good time for more donations, since it's going to take me a bit to get to this next fight.
That's great because we have more donations. Yes. Pixel ADB sent in $10 and says, "Hey Ruby, it's Pixel. Wishing you the best of luck this morning. We're all rooting for you, and be sure to give the horse the biggest pets."
All right, well, since we got $10 there, I'm going to give 2 more pets to our lovely horse. And thank you so much for the good luck. Hopefully on this next Colossus, that's going to pay off because the last one was very much a meme. Let me see. And if you have, we have time for like 1 or 2 more if we've got more.
I do want to talk about the goals that the incentives we're trying to unlock, especially the Celeste Classic 2 bonus run. We'd really, really love to see some more Celeste this time around, but you really need to get those donations in. We're sitting at $386 out of the $1,200 we need to unlock it.
Oh my god, and Celeste is such a good game. The runs of that are absolutely insane.
Right? I'm really hyped for the Celeste block. It just looks so amazing, and this would really round it out in the most thrilling way. So do remember, when you're getting those donations in to pet the horse and to support Sweet Relief, because that's why we're here, also make sure you click on that incentive.
Yes, please, please do. Okay, and we are now pulling up on this fight, so I'm going to start trying to get into it, because this is going to be the first flying boy, so I don't know if you remember this fight, but I I personally am a huge fan of it, but it's also one of those colossi that when it goes well, you feel like you're on top of the world and are all powerful. It's a really good feeling. And if you get it wrong, all you can do is scream, how could this happen to me, over and over internally, or the way that I usually do on my stream externally, because people apparently enjoy seeing my visceral anger at Colossi. So with this Colossus, this one is my birdie boy, or Avion. This one is over a huge arena that is just completely sunk into water. And that's where the how could this happen to me bit of the fight comes into play. The way that I'm going to be beating this Colossus is actually pretty similar to the normal strategy that you would use when it comes to just like a casual run of the game, with one or two pretty big exceptions. The problem is the things that we do as speedrunners in order to optimize this fight also make it a lot riskier. What's gonna need to happen? Oh, whoops, that's a wall. I was looking at the camera and excitedly talking. This is what happens when you emote with your face and hands. Okay, so we've just now entered where the fight takes place. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my bow and just jump directly in this water. And if you saw those 3 platforms up ahead, those are what I'm gonna swim towards. And the way that this fight works is you have to mount the Colossus in order to be able to do any damage to it. Otherwise, it's just gonna stay on that pillar or fly around the arena. Once I'm on there, there are 3 different sigils that I have to go for. There's one on either side of the wings, and then there's one on the very back of its tail. So what's gonna need to happen is once I get up to this platform, I'm gonna shoot the Colossus to get its attention. And once it swoops down, I'm gonna be able to grab onto its wing. And the big difference here, because this is the way that you would normally do this fight, the big difference here as speedrunners is we do what are called wing drops. Now, with wing drops, depending on the RNG of if the first little animation, which I'll point out when it comes, of when the wing goes up or down, that determines if I'm gonna be able, once the Colossus does a barrel roll, to drop from one wing all the way down to the opposite side or not. Now, I got the up wing there, which is really good. That's what I want, because I'm gonna get this really nice animation, and then I can just drop all the way to the opposite wing, rather than having to worry about holding on to the fur and like climbing the spine and all this other kind of stuff. Oh! All right. She's gonna get out some of her angst really quick, which is fine. You know, if I had a very, very small creature that like was stabbing me with a sword repeatedly to kill me, I would be a little upset too. But now that I've got this second wing, I'm just gonna wait and then drop back to the center. Oh, did not appreciate that, Avion. Thank you. Okay, cool. So we're now all set. I'm on the tail, and at this point, I can just jump towards the back. And one thing that's actually really cool, so right now I'm doing a stab on top of the sigil, but with this particular weak spot, I don't have to be directly on top of it. As long as I'm on the back third of the tail, it's still going to register the damage. And I usually do a jump stab, a regular stab, and another jump stab to take out that final one. So just like that, there's Birdie Boy, there's Avion. Oh, okay, that, with how big of a meme the last fight was, that was so much smoother. I'm feeling much better about just my life and choices in general.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Listen, if you, okay, I feel like anyone who is a speedrunner can relate to this feeling of, like, getting into a run, being really solid at it, and then having one of those runs where just every single thing goes wrong. When you have a meme happen and you're able to recover and just keep doing well on, like, future fights, it's such a good feeling, because full-on meme runs are the worst. Okay, let's see. What is next? Barba's next! Oh, Barba's a fun fight. Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. If there's anything else to read out, now is a good time, and then I can get into the description of what this next fight is going to be.
I mean, I definitely always have things to talk about, including the other incentives that we're looking to unlock, including watching the cutscenes in Pepsi Man. We are even closer to that one, sitting at $72 out of the $100 needed. We only need 28 more dollars to watch this cutscenes in Pepsi Man. And if we're talking about memes, it doesn't get much more meme-tastic than Pepsi Man.
Wait, I'm sorry. I know we're in the middle of a Shadow of the Colossus here, but what? Pepsi Man? This is a game?
You've never seen Pepsi? Have you
No!
ever seen Pepsi
Oh my
Man
god,
before?
what? Okay, no,
Pepsi
please
Man-
tell me about this game. What?
So Pepsi Man,
Yeah.
Pepsi Man was like an event. Pepsi Man was like a thing that happened. Like, and there was a game on top of other things. There were all kinds of merch. Like, if you Google Pepsi Man, you will see it's this mascot that existed. It's basically like a really buff dude in a skin tight bodysuit with a Pepsi logo on it.
Okay, this may sound like
Yes.
a really dumb question, but I feel like it's necessary to ask. Could you see the face of the bodysuited man or
No, it's one of those. It's one of
one of
those
those
joke
full
ones.
okay.
It doesn't have a face. Yeah, there's no face. Just silver. Yeah.
Okay, that's why I had to ask of like, is this just like an amorphous blob of a person? Is this like a slightly, is 18 plus thing?
You know
that we're
those
talking about?
those bodysuits that you can buy that are like a full body, like
green screen suits.
bodysuit?
Yeah,
like a green screen suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean like they're really popular in Japan, which is where this mascot originated. So he's just wearing one of these outfits, but it's like basically his body because he's this mascot. Like, back in the day, like there were all these figures and stuff, and if you Google it, especially they had the kind that like you get on top of like a cap of like a bottle of Pepsi, then like all these different poses. Yeah, if you're seeing Pepsi Man for the first time, take it in. This is what it says in the chat.
Oh my
You
god,
only see it for the
Emerald.
first time once.
Hey!
Yeah.
How's it going,
Pepsi
Emerald?
Man is definitely experience that you should have, that we should all have, and we should definitely experience those cutscenes. And for that, we need 28 more dollars. How many pets would that be for the horse? I mean, if you donated like $30,
It would be
then it would be 6 pets for the horse,
yeah,
right?
so it would be 5 pets for the horse. And I will say, for anyone who is part of the Crystal Crew community or the Team Eco community, and if you're looking for a reason to donate to that cause, I need to see that now. So please donate, please.
Pepsi Man.
I need to see it now.
Strong feelings.
You don't understand.
Strong feelings about Pepsi Man.
I do. I need to see this. I need to know.
I mean, I do understand because when I first heard about Pepsi Man, my reaction was kind of the same. And then, I really enjoyed Pepsi Man. And it's a very enjoyable game to watch speedrun.
Amazing. And I'm going to put a pin in this because we're in this next fight. Okay, so Barba is this next Colossus. So what I'm going to do in order to speedrun this fight is there's actually a particular part of the cutscene where if I skip at the right moment, I'm going to end up directly on top of the Colossus. So I don't have to do, yeah, there it is. Okay, so the way that you normally defeat this Colossus is he is very aggressive and very smart. There is a temple in the back, and if you hide in the temple, he'll eventually lower himself to figure out, hey, where'd this little man trying to kill me go? And you're able to jump onto his big beard. But by skipping that particular part of the cutscene, which all of us kind of figure out the timing by looking at certain markers in the walls. Some people use a notch, some people use a line. It really just depends on the runner. But by skipping at that exact moment, you're able to just teleport and end up directly on his beard. It's a relatively newer strategy, like found in the last, I want to say, year or two. So I know like the first run that happened at Games Done Quick of the PS4 Shadow of the Colossus, that trick didn't exist yet. So it's one that's relatively newer to runs. But now I've done 2.5 stabs to the head sigil. Now I just need to get in the final stab and a half, I think it is, to this back sigil. And just like that, Barba's down. Yay! Yes, okay, so now that we're done with the fight, I know that Shadow of the Colossus is important, but like, listen, real talk.
Pepsi Man. Pepsi Man.
Yes. Okay, so the way that I am obsessed with Pepsi
You're like,
Man,
I need more.
Well, yes, and here's, okay, so to put this in context, the way that I am obsessed with this is the same way that I am obsessed with bears at this moment. And the reason I say that, have you ever played Kentucky Route Zero?
No.
Okay.
What do you mean bears?
So
what is happening?
No, yes, exactly. So anytime that you play Kentucky Route Zero, it is a game that will make your brain shatter and you think you understand what's happening, but think of like the movie Parasite and you think you understand where it's going and then something else happens and you go, no, I sure don't. I sure did not predict this. And I am having so much fun putting pieces together with it, but it's a very absurd game. And there's a moment where, spoilers for Kentucky Route Zero, y'all, but not too heavy of spoilers. At one point, you're in an office building in this strange space, and you're getting an elevator, and it says, all right, floor 1 is like accounting and marketing. Floor 2, records and profiles. Floor 3, bears. Just bears. That's all it was. And then I went to the floor, and it was literally just a floor of bears, just watching me. And my friend Steven and I are both Let's Play streamers, and we both recently played this game, and I played it second. And as soon as I finished that moment, Steven went, okay, I can finally show you this, and sent me a highlight. And we had basically the exact same reaction, which was just, it's literally just bears. So yes, the way I'm obsessed with Pepsi Man in this moment, which is, I don't understand this thing, but I need to know why it's here, is the same obsession I have with bears in Kentucky Route Zero. If that makes
definitely
any sense.
there's plenty of Pepsi Man content out there just waiting for you to discover it, so.
You know what? I love finding new Google rabbit holes to go down. So this is gonna be a good one. The one of the furthest down of like anything entertainment based that I have gone, Google rabbit hole wise, is actually, have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yes, I actually have seen. Finally, something that you have seen that I've seen.
Huh!
Yes.
So
I have seen Cabin in the Woods.
I usually don't ask this much, but this is the topics that we're talking about. So the reason I bring up Cabin in the Woods is I was really obsessed because in the scene where you see all the different monsters in their containment chambers, at one point I watched it and was like, that's a tank. Wait, and there's a witch over here. I'm a big Left 4 Dead fan. And a bunch of the monsters from Left 4 Dead were in the movie. And then when I went and Google rabbit holed it, I found out that they had like a partnership that was going to be happening where not only were the monsters going to be featured in the movie, but then in Left 4 Dead, there was going to be a whole campaign map that was the above and underground parts of the facility. And then it got canceled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like we never
real?
got the level.
Oh.
Yeah, so like they made the movie, the monsters got put in, but then they never actually carried out the deal long enough for the level to be made. So the Left 4 Dead fans like never actually got anything out of it, which is so unfortunate because it would have been so cool. Yeah.
Like speaking of games that have like tie-ins to other games,
Yes.
Monster Hunter does that really, really well. Actually,
Really?
Monster Hunter just unapologetically ties into other games constantly, and it's really funny because it's the type of game where you have to fight giant monsters. It's very similar, actually. I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is beautiful, but it's the same kind of thing where it's just sort of endless boss fights. That's like all you do is hunt these giant monsters. But then, you have like a little cat sidekick that's dressed as Mega Man with Mega Man sounds,
So
like you do.
I had never actually played a Monster Hunter game, and then like way before the pandemic, excuse me, pollen is great. A few friends had gotten me into Monster Hunter World, and I never got to finish it, but oh my god, I remember loving so many of those fights so much. Okay, and we're about to be in the next fight here, and I don't know where I landed, so this is going to be interesting. So pausing conversation so I can focus on the fight. So this is Hydrus. Hydrus is basically my Sparky boy, my Ely boy. He has these huge nodes on his head, as you can see. Normally, so there are a few different ways to speedrun this. One is just doing a basic one cycle. One is a full series of jump stabs you can do. But because I landed in a weird place in the water, I'm not going to be able to do that second one. But what I'm going to do is, as soon as Hydrus, so you can see his eyes have already turned orange. That means he's aggravated and he's going to try and come for me. I'm going to let him do this bow in the water and basically mount directly onto the back of his tail. So let me just do that really quick. Okay, awesome. So now that I am on the Colossus, one thing that's actually really cool is you can roll and keep moving on this Colossus while you're underwater. So rather than just holding on for dear life and praying that he gets above water like you would casually, you can just keep rolling up the back of the Colossus. And I'm not going to regard any of my safety. I'm not going to stab out any of these nodes. I'm just going to take the damage, because if you stab the nodes, that actually starts the timer for how long you can stay on the Colossus before he goes back underwater. And I need that to not happen so that I have enough time to stab out the one actual sigil, not just the minor weak points. So now that we've gotten this far, I'm going to go ahead and just do a jump stab here. And that's going to get me directly onto... Oh, God. No! Okay, I'm going to take a little damage here. That's fine. I've still got plenty of health. Okay. And I would like to, you know, not die, please. I'm just going to take this out really quick. No! No! I stabbed it! That's rude. How dare you? Okay, hang on. This is just rude. Okay, well, the nice thing is now I might actually be able to do the speedrun strat. So what I'm gonna do is wait a second, and then I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 little animations in the water, and that's actually going to pull Hydrus towards me faster. If I'm able to get this speedrun strat, I should be able to do a series of 3 different jump stabs to get Hydrus' head to turn in the water so I can end up automatically on the head. So let's see if I can get that. Fingers crossed. Oh, okay. And... amazing. Okay, so I was able to stab that out, and actually, hey, you got to see the speed, like the full-on speedrun strat. It took a death, which is sad, but here we go. Okay, so this is the only sigil on this Colossus. The nodes just take hits to minor weak points, so they don't count for like full-on damage to the Colossus. But now that I'm here, and I got here pretty early in the animation cycles, I should just be able to stab that all the way home. And there's Ely Boy. Down. Amazing. Wonderful. Oh my god. That fight is so stressful. I love the design of this Colossus, but there are a lot of people who actually will watch the speedruns of this who have, oh god, I think it's called agoraphobia, which is the phobia of monsters lurking in deep water or deep bodies of water.
So I think it's just deep bodies of water because I learned about it because I love the ocean and I'm not scared of it in any way whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I learned about it from all these people being like, ah, every time I talked about the ocean.
Oh my god. It's so strange too, because like I grew up going onto lakes and going to the ocean, so it never really scared me either, but also like big monsters and fish living in the ocean, I also get it. Because there are incidents like that, and you know, we've discovered more of space than we have of the Earth's ocean. Just think about that.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so I grew up. I was born on Oahu, and so my parents had a commercial diving company, and so they threw me in the water like before I learned to walk, and so that's where my lack of fear of water comes from. However, you know, you also have to have a lot of respect for the ocean, right? Because it doesn't matter how much you love it, it's still going to knock you down if you turn your back on it and drown you mercilessly if you're not paying attention, right? So, so I think, you know, fear of drowning and like being deep in the ocean, that kind of thing is primal. Fear of like large predators, that kind of thing is primal. But when I hear people talking about like, oh no, what's in the ocean? I'm like, you know, I feel strongly about things like sharks and actually how endangered they are because we are so primally afraid of predators for good reason, for survival reasons. However, we're the apex predator now, and we are murdering them at an unprecedented rate. And it's time to calm the hecky down about sharks and things like just be smart when when you're around them, but you don't need to be afraid that if you're standing in 5 feet of water that a shark is going to come for you.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be okay.
exactly. Like, I feel like there's so much misinformation about the actual aggression and what causes it in sharks and so many other animals just that are quote unquote big and scary. There are so many animals that are endangered solely for that purpose because people haven't given them the respect that they need in their own environment. And I feel like whether it comes to diving, whether it comes to more extreme sports, whether it comes to going into more dangerous environments, you can appreciate and enjoy it while still understanding the dangers of it and preparing yourself. So I think that's a really good mindset to have just in general when going into any kind of dangerous situation. Is you can have fun, you can have a great time. Doesn't mean that the present dangers and need for an out don't exist.
And definitely no disrespect to people with phobias because I have several phobias myself. However, they have nothing to do with deep water. So I understand how irrational they can be as well. But I feel like, the film Jaws sort of brought about a lot of fear for predators in deep water, and it never really went away.
Yeah, I have no excuse for this that comes from a movie or anything of the form. I have a phobia of fireworks because that's how my brain works. Just because when I was little, I was so sensitive to loud noises that any kind of loud noise would give me a headache or I would get confused and scared by it. And then when I was 3 or 4, my parents took me front row seat to a fireworks show.
Oh my gosh.
It didn't go well.
I have a phobia. I have a metaphobia, which is a fear of vomit. It's completely irrational. I will literally run the other way if people are sick, unless it's some sort of emergency. Mm-hmm. It's the worst. And I remember being a kid and seeing that kind of thing in children's entertainment, cartoons and stuff. And I was like, how can they show this to children? This is kid me was thinking this because of my phobia. It took me a long time to figure out that other people weren't absolutely terrified by it.
But
so
yeah, I mean, if it's yours and you don't realize that not everyone's brain works the same way yours does, especially as a kid, it makes sense. And really quick, we are in a fight, so I should explain how this works. So this is Kuramori. I've been having so much fun talking to you and hanging out that I should talk about the run. So
speed runs.
Yeah, speed runs the way that you do. So this fight, Kuramori is actually considered one of the easiest Colossi to speed run, which is really great. So it's kind of the moment where even though it looks like a really exciting fight, we all are like, okay, we can take a little bit of a break here. So basically the way that you defeat this Colossus is, as you can see, he's in a big Colosseum. And the way that I basically fight him is once he climbs high enough on the wall, you shoot him down. And then all it takes is doing 2.5 stabs to each of these sigils, and the Colossus is going to be dead. Now, casually, this fight is terrifying because Kuramori is the first one that shoots you with, fire. And actually leaves full-on static electricity clouds that if you stand in them for too long, you will just continually get your health depleted until you die. So this is one of those instances, much like with, professional World of Warcraft players. Don't stand in where the damage hits. Don't do it. Don't stand in one place. Listen, one of my roommates is a mythic World of Warcraft player, and the amount of times I have heard him complain about people just standing in a single place and not getting out of where the damage is hitting is astronomical.
Back in the day, I played a lot of WoW and I did a lot of raids, and you're like, don't stand where the damage is, and I'm just like, oh, my heart.
Yes, exactly. So Kuramori is one of those fights for if you're playing it casually, do not stand where the damage is. So, but we took out that fight, really simple, and we're moving on to the fights that I've gotten memed on are actually fights that I'm usually really good at. So the like 1 or 2 fights where I really struggle, I'm a little scared for today, I'm not gonna lie. And we are headed towards one of those right now. This next Colossus I refer to as my turtle boy or geyser boy. His name is Bassaron. And Bassaron is going to be in a huge desert filled with geysers that like slowly take turns as far as which one is spouting at that moment. And what you normally do, because this Colossus doesn't have weak spots on like the very bottom of hooves or on its face or anything like that, is you have to knock it over by luring it over those geysers. And then once you do that, you're able to, there's all sorts of fur on the stomach, you can climb up, and then the only sigil is on the head, and just stab it all the way home. The way that I do this fight instead, because, you know, speed running, there are 2 different speed...
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, gotta go fast, exactly. So there are 2 different speed run strats for this fight. One is using a full-on physics abuse, where if I were to jump onto one of the front knees and side jump at exactly the right time, then it would essentially allow me to propel onto his head just immediately. It looks kind of nonsense. But the trick that I am better at, the one I'm going to do instead, is called the rib strat. Some people, because it is a harder trick to pull off for some people. For me, it's actually the way easier one on this fight. Some people call it the rip strat, like R.I.P. And the way that you do it is once I line up with the Colossus and basically square off to the point where he's going to fire at me, I just dodge past that and grab onto his ribs, then use his leg to propel all the way onto his butt. So it's very specific timing, and we're going to see how it goes. And this one, you actually wait a little longer than usual before skipping the cutscene, just to make sure that you get the right animation at the very beginning of the fight. So I'm going to wait and square
All right,
off.
is the fight starting now, or do we have time for a donation? Okay, all right. I'll wait until after.
Yes,
I'll wait until after.
as soon as we're done with this fight, please read that donation. But I'm going to go ahead. Okay, I am on the ribs. So I'm going to swing all the way back onto this leg and then grab on here. Amazing first try. Can we just do that all the time? That would be so stellar. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so now that I am on the head and got that leg strat the very first try, Bassaron is going to throw me around a ton. This is the other thing about this fight that even for casual players is really rough. And the first half of the fight, there is no actual plant, because for the first half of the health bar, Bassaron's going to keep doing this animation of throwing his head back, which even if you're in the quote-unquote plant of the Colossus, it's going to knock you out every time. But now that I am a little past that half damage point, he's going to start switching to this animation of shaking side to side. And now I can maintain the plant and just stab all the way home. And I think I'm in exactly the right position that I want to be in. So there we go. Bassaron's done. Okay, now is a perfect time to read donations.
All right, where Ozma sent in $7 and said, "Speedrunners love to our beloved horse. Ruby, you're doing wonderfully. Thanks for what you share with so much passion. We're all behind you at Team Eco Speedruns, less than 3.
I love you, Team Eco Speedruns fam. There are so many people from that fam in the chat. So I see like Azima's here, Yusu's here. And then people who like come to my personal stream and are part of the Crystal Crew. So Raoru and Woohoo and Temporal Mechanic and so many others. Thank you so much for being here, everyone, and supporting an awesome cause. Okay, let's see if there are any other. Yeah, the next Colossus is going to take a bit to get to. So if there are any other donations or announcements, now is the perfect time to do that.
Lovely. Well, that one went towards unlocking those cutscenes for Pepsi Man. Now we are sitting at $79 out of $100. We only need $21 to watch the cutscenes in Pepsi Man. And speaking of cutscenes, there's another game that you actually personally I think really need to see, Ruby.
Yeah.
Mort the Chicken. If you have you seen Mort the Chicken?
No, what is this?
Oh my, Mort the Chicken is an experience. If you think Pepsi Man is an experience, Pepsi Man is like a kind of like a meme-tastic corporate experience, and Mortha Chicken is like a transcendent experience. You won't know who you are or what's going on by the end of Mortha Chicken. It is just it's kind of indescribable. It's really, you're gonna make some noises watching Mortha Chicken.
Oh boy.
I made a large number of noises. So anyway,
Yeah.
we want to watch the cutscenes in Mortha Chicken. In order to do that, we need a lot more donations. We're sitting at only $15 out of the $100 needed. So once we unlock those Pepsi Man cutscenes, Mortha Chicken is next on deck. I am emotionally invested. We really I wish I could describe Mortha Chicken, but it's just maybe somebody in chat can do it better than I can. It's funny, I can't remember specifically what happened. All I can remember is how I felt. And how I felt was like my mind was being blown for the entirety of the game.
I am so curious now. Okay, yes, everyone please donate to Pepsi Man. That way we can also make Mortha Chicken happen. I need both of these things, please. Please, please. Oh my god, and I was gonna say something else. There was something you said.
Did you get that horse pet in? Did you pet the horse for that dono?
So how, I was gonna ask, thank you for reminding me, how much was that donation? Because I didn't know how many horse pets to do.
It was for $7, so there's another horse pet.
Okay, amazing. So actually, you know what? There's
And just a reminder to anybody who has just joined us that we have an incentive to pet that horsey. This horse will get pets for every $5 that you donate, so get those donations and pet that horse.
Yes, so here's what I'm gonna do. As soon as I collide with another object or get to this fight, I'm gonna dismount so I can pet the horse. Right now, since we're like in full speed, I'm gonna hang on, but as soon as I have a moment, Agro's gonna get them good pets. All right, let's see.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
So, fun fact, I didn't know that you could pet the horse for years. I discovered this game in high school. Yeah, so here's the thing. I started playing it in high school with one of my best friends. We figured out a bunch of the tricks together. Then, like, every year, once I got to college and met my best friend who brought me my breakfast burrito earlier. So once we met, we found out that we had, liked a lot of the same video games. And we made it a tradition of, like, once a year and then multiple times a year playing this game together. We discovered that you could jump on birds. We discovered some of the fastest way to beat the fights. We discovered being able to jump off the cliff. We did not figure out that you could pet the horse, and the first time I found out about it was when I was in the Fleet Fatales run for GDQ. And my commentator, Usurpering, who is just an amazing Last Guardian speedrunner, check out her channel if you get the chance. She mentioned, oh, and you can pet the horse, and the 404 error that appeared on my face, no one was ready. I was just like, I'm sorry, what? Why in the world would you not tell me this sooner? Okay, so
like, what button do you have to use to pet the horse? Like, why is it so, like, why wouldn't it have happened, like, just even by mistake? It's
basically, you have to use the circle button, and you have to make sure, rather than having a weapon in your hand, that you are basically using the quote-unquote bare hand option. So I had never, like, hit circle near Agro. The game never told me to. And now that we're in this fight, I should explain it really quick, and we'll keep talking about petting the horse. So this Colossus is named Dirge. I call him my sandworm. So the way that you beat this Colossus, and actually we got really, really good timing here. So the way you defeat this Colossus is his weak spot is his huge eyes that you saw. So what I do is essentially shoot those as it's behind me, and then try and stop him on one of these pillars or on a wall. 1, 2. Okay, I think I got the right timing there. So, and what I did there, the reason I was doing that little number count, is the way that you one cycle this Colossus, which is part of the speedrun strat. So trying to make sure that he doesn't dive into the sand again, and I have to, like, stop him again and do all the other animation cycles a second time, is if you do just the exact right amount of damage to the first sigil, then it allows you, when you hit the second sigil, to kill the Colossus rather than having an extra sliver of damage or having to come back for a whole other Colossus fight. So, just like that, I got that super smoothly. I got a pillar immediately, which is exactly where I wanted to land. I got the eye first arrow, and I was able to one cycle the Colossus. So, Dirge is down. And that was a really solid fight. That made me very happy. But yes, I didn't know that you could pet the horse for years, and I just never encountered it. And then as soon as I found out, I just started adding petting the horse as a donation incentive to like make up for all the years I missed. That's the reason I do this. So that hopefully she forgives me for not knowing I could give her pets before.
Well, we definitely have more pets incoming. Do we have
Oh
time
my
to
God.
read another donation right now?
Absolutely.
All right, so our very own Oscar424 sent in $21 for Pets and Pepsi Man. Less than 3. That should, in fact, I'm going to check, because that is exactly how much we needed to unlock. Yes, in fact, we have unlocked the cutscenes in Pepsi Man. We did it, fam.
Yes!
And that is 4 pets for the horse as well.
I actually, as you were saying that we hit the goal for Pepsi Man, I did the 4 pets. So Agno has gotten in her good pets, and we are on our way. All right, let's see. Okay, so this next Colossus. So I am headed towards... Okay, I love the next Colossus, honestly. So there are 2 Colossi in the game that I call the small boys, because unlike a lot of the other Colossi that are huge and towering over you, these are maybe 3 times your size. They're not that much bigger than you. However,
Smaller when it comes to giants.
smaller when it comes to giants. It doesn't change the fact, though, that they are still really scary. The main reason why is the smaller boys move a lot faster. And on top of that, they are really, really aggressive. So if they hit you and they get to you quickly enough, their hits automatically stun lock you. And they'll just keep hitting you and stun locking you over and over and over again until you just die. And until you're just laying on the ground dead.
Good times.
Yeah, you know, so as speedrunners, the main trick is, you know, avoiding that. But
what we were talking about before, like, just don't stand where the damage is. Just don't get hit. You know.
Exactly. And the nice thing is we have dodge rolls in this game, so, like, that helps a little bit. But unlike a lot of the other Colossi where it's like, oh, this big towering thing, you just, like, have to launch onto its head. Oh, this big towering thing, you have to do all these trick jumps. The trick for this one is it's afraid of fire. It's just a little boy who's afraid of fire. So all I have to do is there are going to be a bunch of like beacons of flame. So torch lights in this little shrine that I'm headed towards. And what I'm going to need to do is grab a torch and light it on fire. That way the Colossus goes, oh God, no. Oh, that's scary. Oh, geez. And what happens then is when you're holding the flaming torch or the flaming stick, the Colossus's AI basically says, you're scary, I can't attack you, and I'm going to back away from you. However, if you're holding your sword, the Colossus thinks, you're not scary, you don't have crap on me, I'm going to attack you immediately. So the speedrun trick for this Colossus is actually abusing and confusing the AI. So what's going to happen is, and this fight goes really quickly. It's like a 40-second or less fight. So I'm going to do the best I can to explain it as quickly as I can. So I jump up here, and Celosia is going to turn around and hit this pillar. As soon as she starts heading towards it, I'm going to jump down just so I land right next to where the torch is. But as soon as I grab it, it's not going to be lit on fire anymore. So I need to head to this second beacon. Let me see. The beacons are lit. There we go. Okay, so I've got my torch here. And what I'm going to do, much like I was mentioning earlier, is I'm just going to drop the torch and pick it back up repeatedly. And what that does is tricks the computer into thinking, I'm afraid of you. Just kidding. No, I'm not. I'm afraid of you. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. And that forces Celosia close enough to the cliffside that I'm able to get her to activate that animation more quickly of falling off the cliff so that her armor pops off her back. Now that that's done, it literally only takes 2 stabs and Celosia's down. There we go. Easy fight.
So I actually had a question. This is like rolling back a little bit, because I know you can definitely take fall damage in this game, and I watched you like fall off a flippin' cliff to get to Celosia, and you were fine. So
it's the distance that you fall. So there are some.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So kind of like how there are some games where you take more fall damage if you fall from a greater height. This is one of those games where there is a certain threshold within which, yes, you will take a lot of damage, but it's not enough to kill you. So, like the second fight also, I jumped off of the cliff just directly onto Quadratus. That fight, you jump just directly down onto that cliff face. And then I'm trying to think if there are any other places that I'm going to do really extreme jumps. Oh, God. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it's within a certain threshold. You still don't necessarily die. And we are headed towards the other Colossus fight that is the bane of my existence. All the others I'm fine with. But, oh boy. So this next one is a run breaker. Palagia, the Tooth Boy, Dentist. There are a million different names I use. And this one, the reason why it's like the bane of speedrunners' existence when it comes to this game in particular is it probably has the most variance in RNG versus a lot of the other Colossi. You can think that you understand the movement cycles, and then she'll do something just completely different one day to say, you thought you understood how this fight worked? That's cute. And on top of that, the timing and positioning and percentage of hits for this Colossus in order to get the one cycle is really precise. So I'll explain how the actual fight functions once we get there. But if we have any more donations or announcements, now is the perfect time to read them.
We absolutely have another donation from Young Thunfish for $5 who says, I'm a simple man. I see a pet the animal incentive. I donate. And horses are basically just oversized dogs. And I like petting dogs. Less than 3. That is another pet for our horsey.
Just everything about the way that donation message was written, I appreciated. So thank you for the donation, and thank you for just making me smile and making my day. So as soon as I get up to this cliff face, I'm going to have to dismount Agro in just a second. So as soon as I get to the part where I dismount before this next fight, I'll make sure to get that pet in. All right, let's see.
And that one actually did go towards our Mort the Chicken Watch the Cutscenes incentive. So we're now sitting at $20 out of the $100 that we need to watch the unbelievably ridiculous, you do not want to miss cutscenes in Mort the Chicken. So still $80 to go. But how many pets would that be for the horse? Let's see, it would be like 10. That would be 15 horsey pets?
Yeah, it would. And also,
only
I just
only 15
saw
horsey pets to unlock the cutscenes.
Sporadic, the big donation for the whole event just hit 4,000. We're at 4,009.
Oh, yeah. 4K hype.
That's awesome. Holy crap. Thank y'all so much. And how many days are left? Like, people still have time, right?
I mean, technically, we're on the third day, I think. I tend to think of this as, I guess we've kind of rolled over into Saturday. It's like 7 a.m. for me.
Oh, my God. Yep, it is 10:26 a.m. for me at this moment. All right, let's see. All right, so I am now off the horse. Let me give good pets first. All right, pets for good luck. Perfect. Okay, so one thing that's really, really nice about this nowadays is this is a really pretty view getting to this Colossus of all the waterfalls and things like that. Every time I do this particular jump on this pillar, though, it always makes me anxious because when I first played the game, I fell off this waterfall like 4 or 5 times and didn't see the save point around the corner, so I kept having to go from the central shrine to here. And when you're first playing this game, I'm navigating really quickly, just because, I know how to get places. But when you're first playing it, one of the biggest challenges in the game isn't just figuring out the Colossus fights, but figuring out how to get through the forest and how to, navigate the Forbidden Lands. So it would take me so many hours to just figure out how to get to a Colossus and hopefully not die on the way there. Of course. Okay, so I'm going to start pointing things out because this fight has a lot of moving parts to it, and I'm hoping I can fit in the whole description. So as you can see, these pillars that are kind of in the background, those are actually one of the main things that we're going to use for the mechanic of this fight to our advantage. So this is the Colossus Palagia. Beautiful design. A lot of people actually theorize that this is only the bottom half of the Colossus, and the top half was like torn off, which is why there are the teeth on the top of the head there, because it's like the bottom part of the jaw. So what I'm gonna do is shoot Pelagia, get her attention. She's gonna shoot at me once or twice, and then once I get this jumping animation that she's doing right here, I'm gonna be able to jump onto her face, which perfect. Okay, so we got that just right out the gate. As soon as she lowers her arms, I'm gonna be able to use these teeth on her head and just hit them repeatedly. That way I can get over to this next platform. Then from here, what I'm gonna need to do is lure her and get her attention. So she does that same kind of thing of pulling her legs up, but up on this pillar or up on this platform. The difference though is usually just casually playing this, you would hide. That way she comes up to look for you. But if you jump just on the crest of the head right here, like I did just now, you can actually automatically get her to activate that animation. And now, once you're in like the upper rightish of the sigil, you want to do one full stab, a 0.95 stab, and then 2 more full stabs. And if I got this timing right, I basically need to get in these stabs before it hits the water. Yes! Okay! Ha! 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 The reason I'm making those sounds is that is one of the hardest fights in the game, and the fact that I got memed on so many of the easy fights, and then that went just flawlessly. Oh, mwah, mwah, mwah. Chef's kiss. Love it. Yes. Good. Ha! Okay. Making Pelagia look easy, thanks, Temporal Mechanic. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Wow, okay. Whew.
Lovely, well done.
Thanks.
I mean, that's some, like, karma, right? That's coming back. You're awake now. It's good. It's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what it is. I got some fights of Breakfast Burrito in my system. I did poorly on previous fights, and then I had to get that redemption in. I feel like that's what it was. Okay, let's see. And next I am headed to... Oh, okay. The next fight is really cool, but I'll explain it in a second. Perfect time for announcements and donations.
Awesome. Well, we did actually have another incentive open up as well in Link's Awakening to open the egg. And of course, we don't have any donations for that yet because it was just opened up. We're looking for $100 to unlock that one. So hopefully we can get that one as well. I also want to draw some attention to the bid war that's going on for the run. Not the run after this one, but after the next one for Roller Coaster Tycoon to choose the track color. We have a single donation for a single $1 to turn the track green. Now, if you feel strongly about changing that track color, you can snipe it for only $2. The choices are blue, green, pink, purple, red, and yellow.
Ooh, I mean, I'm RUBIEHART, so I would say red, but like, green's a good color.
Blue is my favorite color. Blue is my favorite color. That's what I would vote for.
So, okay, fun fact. Blue is my favorite color, but red and green have always been the, like, they are right there with blue, maybe minus by 0.01 points. So I definitely agree with you on blue, but now that I have started speedrunning and RUBIEHART has become so much bigger a part of my life, red has just now become my color, and I kind of love it. So I mean, I would probably after this put in an incentive or put in a donation for red. All right, let's see.
I mean, it won't take much for you to snipe it, and you don't have to worry about those horsey pets once you're done.
No, that's true. That's very true. Actually, I'm probably gonna do that. Okay, so we're going to be pulling up on the fight in the next few seconds. So the next fight is, the reason I said, okay, this is going to be really cool. We actually have started a tradition in the Team Eco community of having Team Eco Marathons awards. So not to brag, but I did win Best Friend of Agro. So, you know, me giving her all these pets seems highly appropriate. But also, Phalanx, this Colossus, was voted the most beloved fight. And the reason why this is such a cool particular combat sequence is, A, this is the biggest Colossus in the game. If you watch as this thing goes by, it is absolutely massive compared to any of the other Colossi. And the way that you take out this fight is unlike the other Colossi, where you wait for them to get aggravated and you dodge their attacks. Phalanx is a pacifist. Will never, ever, ever attack you. The most that she'll do is if you happen to overstab on one of the sigils, then she'll dive into the sand to throw you off. But again, if there were a small creature on top of me trying to kill me, I would do the same thing. So, like, I get it. So what's going to happen with this is I shot out those air sacs so that Phalanx lowered. And now that I am on the back and on the sigils, I'm going to do 1.9 stabs to each sigil. So rather than doing a full 2 stabs. And the reason for that is, like I said a second ago, if you overstab, so if you do a full 2 stabs on each sigil, the Colossus will actually do a full barrel roll. And not only does it lose you a ton of time being able to stab the sigils, but it also start kind of like Hydrus, that Ely boy earlier. Once you overstab on a sigil, it starts a timer, and the Colossus will only stay in the air for so long, which basically makes it so it's impossible to hit out all 3 of the sigils. And then these panels, so if you see I'm under this panel right here, they'll close so that you can't even get any more hits in, no matter how hard you try. But since I didn't overstab, I was able to get Phalanx. That was a really smooth fight too. And oh my god, the next fight is my favorite fight. And I am so excited. Heck yes. Okay, so, hey, do you like dogs?
I do like dogs. I also like cats, and I am now hosting on hard mode because my cat has jumped into my lap.
Oh my god, that's so cute. I would have had dogs in my lap. I'm actually normally I have like an at-home studio room where I do my streaming, but right now I'm in a different location because I'm puppy sitting for my mom. But the puppies were being very vocal about killing their own colossi, aka barking at tiny birds earlier. So I decided to let them outside for the duration of the run. Since, you know, that
for a hot second I thought you were saying like the puppies are peeing, and I'm like, that'd be very distracting. I would have a really hard time playing video games.
No,
if that was happening, you look over and you're like, oh
no. So here's the thing too. So one of the dogs is very smart, like very smart. Don't get me wrong, but she would bark so much when she was little that my dad was like, okay, no training is working, nothing else is working, why don't we use a shock collar, which I am very against, but like that's what my dad decided to do. But Liesel, little absolute mad genius that she is, went, oh, it'd be a shame if I figured out how to outsmart this thing. And then she did, because she figured out that if you bark at a high enough register, that for some reason the collar doesn't register it. And now her bark is just high-pitched forever. Yeah, so... inadvertent training. All right, I do want to point out, I don't know if you saw it, there was a message on the screen about you having a low controller battery. Do you have another controller you need to switch to before the end of the run? You think you're going to make it? Actually, you know what? I am going to be just fine. Thank you for saying that. I've got a cord right here. I'm literally still hitting the X button and driving. I'm just getting plugged in. So I'm right over here.
Excellent.
Y'all. Let's see. Thank you so much for letting me know about that. I actually completely missed that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw it flash on there and I was like, oh dear, this could be bad if it was in the middle of a fight. Let's say something.
That would really stink. Thank you for saying that. The nice thing is though, these final colossi actually take a lot longer to get to, so we've still got some time. So of all the times to get that low battery message and need to plug back in, this was the perfect time for that to happen. So, yeah, we're all good. We're Gucci.
All right, excellent. And Atrice in the chat said to stop the run and show the cat. However, the cat has already run away. And the big hard mode thing about me doing stuff while holding the cat is that my cat is not very good at putting her claws back in. So when she decided to jump off my lap, she hooked me in 2 different places. And I had to unhook her before she could... I mean, it was just my clothing, but you know, cat's trying to pull my pants off while I'm hosting. It's just not...
That seems a little unprofessional. Like, tell your cat to get it together.
Just rude, frankly.
Oh my god. So okay.
No respect.
So we had a new roommate move in with us recently who has a cat, and when I was little, I grew up with a dog, but I was like, I love dogs, but also I really want to have a cat at some point. So when I found out that we were getting a kitty, I was over the moon, just putting it out there, to be quite frank. And this cat is obsessed with sinks. Like, absolutely obsessed. As in, any time that he sees you, he'll stop, meow at you adorably, and then lead you to a bathroom so he can rub his head under the sink and you can turn it on so he can drink from it. That's just how...
Oh, my mom's cat is the same way. Yeah, he wants to drink out of the sink. He really wants to stick his head in the water. He'd be really upset if you don't turn it on for him, too. And you have to turn it on just right. You can't turn it on too high. You know, it has to be like a convenient trickle for His Majesty.
So I found out actually why cats do that too, because like Leo isn't the only cat I've met who does that. Leo's just the cat that I've met who like does it the most and is the most sassy about it. But apparently the reason cats do that is because they instinctually know that like running water is cleaner. So they want to drink out of running faucets and running water because it's going to be cleaner than a like sitting food bowl.
I had heard that cats prefer fresh and running water, but I didn't know that that was specifically why they went for the sink. I mean, it makes sense though.
Yeah, so that I didn't know either, and then a few weeks ago someone told me this and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I would want to verify it, but it honestly tracks for me. Okay, and the reason I asked you, by the way, why we got on this lovely discussion, the reason I asked you if you like dogs is the next Colossus is my absolute favorite, and he's a pup. He's like a bulldog. So
it's a very cute dog that we're gonna murder now. All right, let's go.
Yep, basically. Welcome to Shadow of the Colossus. You may be the protagonist, but you're not the hero. And that actually is something that this game is really great at, is like so many things are built into the lore and into the implicit storytelling since there aren't many cutscenes to actually guide you along the way. So everyone kind of has their own theories about how things work. But when it comes to this Colossus, there's this big city and he's just a guard dog doing a good protect. He just wanted to protect his city, and now I'm gonna mercilessly murder him because speedrunning. Yay! So, as you can see, oh, there he is in all his good
Gotta
glory.
go fast, right through the dog.
Gotta go fast, right through the dog. So the way that you would normally beat this fight is if you see all these pillars across the landscape, what you would actually do is get him to hit those multiple times, and once he does, it knocks over the pillars and then eventually makes a huge land bridge for you. But I'm actually just gonna skip all of that because it's a speed run, and I'm gonna go to the final pillar. There are 2 different ways to do this skip, so I'm gonna see if the first one works. If not, I'll go for the second one. Let's see. Nope, it's not gonna work. Okay, that's fine. So the reason I was doing that is there is a trick called the super jump. No! This is my nightmare. Okay, so there's a trick called the super jump where if you land in exactly the right place next to that pillar and then spam the jump button, it'll just propel you directly upwards. It's kind of nonsense. But what I did here instead is the old most optimized strat called the kaze jump. And what that essentially does, it's another physics abuse of the game, because if Wonder is close enough, if you actually just saw there how Wonder wasn't quite on the ledge, but then just popped in a little bit so he was close enough. We actually call that his magnet hands, because if Wander is close enough to a ledge, but not quite, he'll just magnetize in and grab directly onto it. So he kind of teleports and does that. So what I did there was, if you run along the side of one of these pillars and then jump up to that platform, it magnet hands you, or you get the magnet hands and it just pops you all the way up. And now from here, I can just jump on this cliffside, get over to this platform. And much like how I was getting Zenobia to knock over the pillars and all these other things, what I'm essentially doing is luring him over here because he thinks it's another pillar, but in actuality, once he knocks it over, it's gonna break the armor on his back, kind of like with the other small boy, Celosia. So the armor is gonna break on his back, and once that happens, I can jump down and get in the final steps that I need and be all set to go. Let's see. Okay. Switching to my hand. And the reason I switched to the hand for a lot of these stabs, by the way, is for some reason, if you're holding the sword, the charge up on the stab is slower. If you're holding just your hand, if you hit the stab button, you'll automatically pull out the sword and actually draw back a lot faster. So for initial stabs on Colossi, a lot of times we'll switch to the hands. That way the first stab goes faster. And just like that, that's Zenobia. So didn't get the super jump, but we got the Kaze immediately. So that was solid. Let me see. Oh, God. And the next Colossus is going to take a while to get to. All of these progressively take longer and longer to get to. So announcements, donations, hit me with them. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the charity we are raising funds for here today. It is Sweet Relief, and Sweet Relief Musicians Fund provides financial assistance to all types of career musicians who are struggling to make ends meet while facing illness, disability, or age-related problems. In other words, healing musicians in need. They help musicians with medical and vital living expenses, including insurance premiums, prescriptions, medical treatment and operative procedures, housing costs, food costs, utilities, and other basic necessities. In March of 2020, Sweet Relief launched a COVID-19 fund to be used specifically for musicians and music industry workers affected by coronavirus. 100% of every dollar donated is used to pay for medical expenses, lodging, clothing, food, and other vital living expenses to those impacted due to sickness or loss of work. So that's what we're doing here today with this beautiful, beautiful speed run. So if you do have a little bit of money that you can spare, please do get those donations in. And remember, for every $5, we'll pet the horsey.
Yes, and I want to tack on to this a little bit. Just speaking from a personal perspective, if you don't know any musicians or people in the arts, just in your personal life, there are so many people who have been put out of work during the pandemic because they are part of live orchestras or part of live musical theater, who are, private music teachers who teach in person, who have been displaced from their companies, displaced from their jobs, who, use that as part of or all of the, vast majority of their income. And on top of that, me speaking from the perspective as an actor and artist, I know that not being able to work in the world of theater, which I went to school for and I trained for years, was really heartbreaking. And that's part of why I got into speedrunning. It was another way that I could throw myself into an art form I enjoyed. Throughout the course of pandemic, that was going to be safe, but a lot of people haven't had that same opportunity. So just as someone who, from my own personal experience and from firsthand witnessing people who have lost work because of the pandemic, please, please, please donate to this cause if you can. It does so much good work for so many people, and I know to me personally, it's a really great cause and means a lot. So yeah, give if you give the chance. Just wanted to say that if you don't know anyone who is an artist struggling in the pandemic, trust me, every penny helps.
Yeah, no, it is
Yeah.
so true for so many reasons. Not only because, like, especially if your performance involves singing in any way, that's definitely just sort of off the table right now. Unless you manage to do some sort of live stream instead. Like, as you were saying, you got into speedrunning, and I know some groups that have gotten together and started doing live streams of their events, but obviously you're just not going to make the same sort of money from people coming in and picking up merchandise and things like that.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, you can't do group musicals. Like, that doesn't exist right now, and if you do, it's like with the work of editors, and it's like people, especially in the world of live performance, so music and theater, have had to completely rework how the industry works. So like, I know a theater company in the area who, in order to survive, like, they made a video game recently because a few of the people on their board are programmers, and like, that's how they got actors involved, was by pulling in actors from the area and programming a whole game, because that's a medium that people can reach right now. It's really, it's cool, but it's also been like a lot of trips for people in the arts community trying to figure out how to bring art to people while being stuck at home. So just facing that challenge as professionals of overcoming that distance is also like a huge thing.
And I would say on top of that, anybody in the arts just in general is probably struggling in general, just because the pandemic hit so many people so hard. Most people don't have that disposable income around to put towards the arts that they might have otherwise been spending.
Exactly. There are theater companies who are like struggling because of that. There are musicians who have like patrons, and they live off of that patronage, and those people aren't able to give as much, or have had to reprioritize. So it leaves a lot of people in the lurch. All right, really quick. I'm gonna come back to this, but hey, we're in a fight. This is Argus. I'm doing
speedrunning.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great with this. So the way that we beat this fight is okay. So here's the nice thing. I messed up intentionally so I can actually explain this fight. Basically, I went to do a side jump, but I figured that it'll be easier if I explain this, because otherwise you will not understand what's happening. So this fight, Argus, otherwise I refer to him as the champion, this whole arena is made to be breakable. So he has a huge hammer, and what you do is essentially get him to break different parts of the arena so you can eventually get to a high enough elevation to get onto his shoulder and stab the sigil on his head. And then he also has a sigil on his hand, where that lovely hammer is that you can see right there. So what I'm gonna actually need to do is, normally what would happen is you go to the head, stab that sigil repeatedly, then once it's out, there's a weak spot on his arm, and if you stab it, he drops the hammer. That way, you can get down to the sigil, the one stab sigil in his hand. What I'm actually gonna do instead, kind of like how I mentioned that magnetism with Wander's hands before, is I'm gonna do another abuse like that against the game. So I'm gonna jump onto this knee. Wow, I really am, maybe I shouldn't have reset, oops. So what I'm gonna need to do is, once I get onto the side of his knee, I'm gonna be able to pop up. And once I try, and rather than trying to jump directly into the hand, if I act like I'm jumping past it, then hit the grab button, that's going to allow me to just magnetize into the fur of the hand while he's still holding the hammer. So I don't have to worry about knocking it out of his hand at all.
I love that chat is talking about tactical yeet.
Yes, okay, so we call them tactical yeets if there are a few colossi where the tricks are especially hard, and if you mess it up, there are these conveniently placed cliffs nearby, and if you use one of the conveniently placed cliffs, you can actually just throw yourself off and reset the fight. There are some colossi where it's better to use like backup strats just for the sake of using backup strats so you don't have to reset, because there's no really easy way to kill your character and start from the beginning of the cutscene. But with this particular fight, if you're close to that cliff face, it's actually one of the easiest ways to reset a fight. So I'm gonna really? Really? This is just the biggest meme right now. And I hate everything about it. Okay, nope, let me go yeet myself. That's fine. This is fine, everything's fine. I'm not panicking and I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, but yeah, so now that I have a second and I can go into a little more detail here. So the way that you would normally get up onto this Colossus, if you see kind of these ramps on the side, if he stomps onto those, it allows you to get to the next layer. Then once that's done, you get him to knock over a bunch of the pillars, which allows you to get a path upwards. And then the bridges that were up top, once you get him to slice those in half, that kind of gives you a diving board just straight onto his head. And this cliff that I landed on, actually, fun fact, even though I can't land there right now because, you know, tactical des, it's too high of a height, there are bonus items you can unlock after you've beaten the game the first time. And one of them is a paraglider or a parachute. And you can use that in order to go into places you would normally be able to reach. And one of them is down there. In this place that I'm going to jump to again. And everything's fine. This is fine. Everything's great. Backup yeet. Yeah, exactly. This is not going to be a stellar time. I will say this is probably the worst run I've done in a while, but part of the fun of speedrunning is like laughing at yourself when you make mistakes and knowing how to move forward from there. So I'm still going to take this as an overall good. Let's see. Okay. Okay, actually, you know what? I ended up in a weird place here, but I'm going to go to the head first because I should be able to make it work that way. Yep, okay, so really? Okay, so what you do in order to get onto the head of this Colossus is if you time a side jump at exactly the right moment, you can end up on the head, and usually that's the part I'm very good at. And then I did what I call space camp, which is sometimes if you launch yourself and do a side jump, rather than landing directly on the head, you just kind of get flung forward. So that's what ended up happening there was I decided to go to space camp for a moment. I'm gonna focus on this fight and see if I'm able to make this work. Okay. Okay. Come on, come on, come on. Please, 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 please. Aha! There we go. Okay, so I did the magnet. I got in the hand. And actually got directly onto the part of the knee that I want to be on, so that's perfect. So now I'm just gonna wait until he almost hits the ground. There we go, okay. So not as high as I would like to be normally, but I'm just gonna take it because this Colossus is memeing me hard right now. So let me see, I'm gonna get up onto the shoulder here. And then once I get to the head, I can just stab it all the way home since I took care of the hand sigil first. And let me see. The plant on this one is a little harder to nail. His placement is just kind of weird. But there we go. Okay. Argus is down. There we go. Ha! Ha! I love it when the Colossi meme me. But the nice thing is, we are now headed towards the final Colossus. So, and this one is going to be a long ride. So any, like, final donations to pet the horse or announcements, this is the perfect time to read them.
Absolutely.
Heck
We
yeah.
have another donation from Temporal Mechanic who sent in $20 and said, support your local artists. That is for Horsey Pets.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Temp. I really appreciate you. And for Horsey Pets will happen in just a moment. I'm going to make sure
That...
Yeah. And if you want to
Go
get...
ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you want to get in Horsey Pets and you haven't seen this game before, I'm just going to give you a warning that you should get them in as soon as possible. For no reason in particular. No reason that involves the horse falling off of a bridge, but doesn't die, I swear. If anyone in the chat has a hard time with animals dying, it's going to appear as if the horse dies. I promise you she is not going to actually be dead. But I'm going to go ahead and give these horse pets now, and you should get in your horse pets as soon as possible if you actually want them to happen.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What?
You said it was for no reason in particular.
Yeah.
And then you said the horse falls off a bridge. So
Yeah, so no reason in particular.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just checking.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
All right. So as far as our incentives that we are looking to unlock, we are now only $60 away from watching those cutscenes in Mort the Chicken, which is a game. It is more than a game. It is a whole experience. It is an entire. I just cannot quantify how much you really want to watch the cutscenes in this particular game. I mean, like, the Pepsi Man cutscenes are gonna be fun, not gonna lie, but the Mort the Chicken cutscenes may have you wheezing and falling off of your chair. So, or your couch, wherever you are, maybe you'll roll out of bed. I don't know. You're watching from the toilet, that's legit. Wherever you're sitting, you're gonna fall off of it if you watch Mort the Chicken cutscenes. So please, please get those donations in. We're $60 away. We only need 100. We're only looking for $100. We're at $40. So we do not have too far to go.
That's amazing. And I will say, as someone who is a big fan of like cult classic or really campy things, so like I am the person who loves watching Rocky Horror Picture Show and Labyrinth and like Repo the Genetic Opera and so many of these others that have like callbacks or nonsense games. Neil Breen movies. If you've never heard of Neil Breen, look him up. He is the best person in bad movie making right now. It's hilarious. But yes, the idea of these games just makes me think of the visceral joy that I get when watching movies like that. So, yes, donate so that we can all see that joy and wonder, please.
It is absolutely, absolutely that type of game. And, you know, before the game ends, I also wanted to, I've been thinking about saying this the entire time.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a time. Now there's a time. Just so you know, since you were like, have you played this game? I have not played this game, but I have a figure from it. I have a resin figure. I have a resin figure of the first Colossus.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, like I loved the aesthetic of the game so much that without playing it and only having watched my friends play it, I was like, yeah, I want that.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's so pretty. It's such a cool game. And yeah, so Valis and Gaius, yeah, the first and third Colossus are the ones that like whenever people tend to make art that is more popular for this game, it is usually art of one of those two colossi, so that seems pretty on brand. Oh, and heads up for just everyone in the chat in general, the rest of the game, we were able to skip all the cutscenes, but for some reason in this final bit, it was a thing, I think, in the PS2 generation of the closer you get to the end of the game, the more unskippable cutscenes you hit. So we're going to be hitting a few of those unskippable cutscenes coming up pretty quick here. So there's one of them right there, just to open this gate. Hey, are there any other Pet the Horse donations?
You know, it's funny. I'm trying to load the page, and for some reason, it's not loading right now.
Okay.
So okay. No, it doesn't look like we had any more donations come in the last 5 minutes or so.
Okay, because if there were any more Pet the Horse donations, this is the last opportunity. After this, there will be no more Pet the Horse incentives. It will just be wonderful donations for Mort the Chicken. Let me see. Okay.
And of course, for Sweet Relief.
And for Sweet Relief. Sorry, I thought that went without saying. That was my bad. All right, let's see.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to say it.
I greatly appreciate.
My job.
Yeah, I know, and I greatly appreciate you keeping me on track throughout this. Okay. So everyone, at this moment, the Pet the Horse incentive has closed. I repeat, the Pet the Horse incentive has closed, and I would once again like to warn the audience that while it appears as though the horse has died, just to pull back the curtain for a moment, when the final credits happen, which you won't get to see here, but when the final credits happen, there is a cutscene wherein you see that the horse does have a twisted ankle, but indeed does come back. So the
Artax!
Yes, the horse is not dead. The horse is not dead. Just, you know, a little wounded. Just a little wounded. It's only a flesh wound.
Don't worry, horses are actually really good swimmers.
Are they really?
In real life, I have a wild story, but I don't know if I have time for it. About a horse being a good swimmer, but I won't tell it if you're heading for the boss here.
So I will say there's going to be a good moment for it, but it'll be after this fight. So, because we're going to be up on it really quickly here. So just to explain kind of how this fight works, because it is a little nonsense. So what you're going to see is once we get up there, because it is the final boss fight, they decided to make it as intimidating and uncomfortable as possible. And by this, I mean there is a huge freaking battlefield with bunkers and barriers, and this huge towering Colossus shoots heat-seeking missiles. You know, so it's totally casual and it's fine. But what's going to happen, normally what you would do is basically, oh my god. For a split second, I thought that I ended up too far away from the pillar and was just going to yeet to my death. That would have been bad. Okay. Wow. That was not an intentional tactical yeet. So what's going to happen?
Not a yeet moment.
Not a yeet moment. So what would normally happen is I would go right and then use the bunkers and barriers in order to dodge these fire bolts. But people actually figured out that there is a specific path you can take where you can get hit between 0 and 2 times. So I'm going to come up here, and once I get on the right path, Malice isn't going to be able to hit me anymore. So, just like that, Malice is going to try and hit me, but not quite get there every time. And I'm going to be able to run all the way to what would be just this final bunker. So that alone just saved me about 6 minutes. So if you're looking at like casual strats versus the full speed run strats. And just like that, as soon as I come out of this tunnel, I'm going to be underneath the Colossus and we're going to hit another one of those unskippable cutscenes. So let's see. And it just shows you how huge this Colossus is. The nickname I have for this one is the tallest boy because I was a big Invader Zim fan growing up, and so did you ever watch it growing up?
I mean, I was not a big Invader Zim fan, but I still know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So for anyone who's not an Invader Zim fan or doesn't know what I'm talking about, the alien planet that the main character comes from is ruled by just the 2 tallest aliens. They are referred to as the tallest. They get to make decisions.
You find out the hierarchy just completely has to do with how tall everybody is.
Exactly. So when I saw this one, I was like, that's the tallest boy. Yep. The fight that it's the final Colossus, and he's just a tall boy. And this climb usually takes a lot longer as a casual player, but thank goodness for practice and knowing the right trajectory. Now, normally you would have to do all sorts of stabs to like a back sigil and getting from one arm to the other arm and all this other stuff. What I'm gonna do instead though is I shot the armpit, and that actually registers the damage to the final sigil that I would normally use on the shoulder. And once he does that animation of like investigating me and going, huh, I can jump just straight onto his shoulder, and already I am on the head. And oh, I ended up in bad placement here. I'm gonna see if I can readjust so I can get this plant. Fingers crossed. Come on. All right, cool. I think I got the plant there. Awesome. Okay, so now that I've got the plant, I should be able to just finish this fight out all the way through, since the only sigil on this Colossus is the one on the head. And this is actually one that even on hard mode doesn't have any additional sigils. It's just a matter of, he's a shaky boy. And when he tilts his head in all sorts of directions, it makes this part of the fight a little bit tougher. Let's see. Okay. Cool. But just like that, Malice is done, and now is the perfect time to tell a story, because what's going to happen is essentially the final sequence. I'm going to go from being a normal mortal man to being a shadowy Colossus monster, and the way that you speedrun that section is by not doing anything and letting the small people escape. So, perfect time for a story and final donations.
All right, I'm going to check on those donations right now. It doesn't look like we had any new ones come in. I don't know. Do you want to hear this horse story? Do we need to hear the horse story? You can tell the horse story?
I mean, I'm legitimately curious. So, like, abbreviated version,
okay,
but yes.
All right. So, when my grandfather was very young, he was riding a horse. He was riding a horse on a sheer cliff, so it was a sheer drop on one side. and it was a very thin path right next to the cliff. The horse was blind in one eye, and the blind eye was on the side where it could see that there was a sheer drop. The drop was into a river, and the horse stumbled and fell into the river. My grandfather did not know how to swim, and so he simply clung to the horse for dear life, and the horse swam to shore, and he made it. The horse made it. I'm here today. That's my story.
That's incredible.
Horses are good swimmers.
Incredible. Holy crap.
Right? That's a real story. Yeah. My grandfather has been afraid of water for like his entire life because of that. Which is really funny because my parents, again, had that commercial diving company and dropped me in the water when I was like really, really little. So my grandfather would always be very, very nervous when I was just swimming, even in a pool. And it was all from that one time that he fell off the cliff while riding a horse.
I mean, that tracks, though. If that happened to me, I probably wouldn't be enthused about going into big bodies of water anymore.
Right?
Yeah, and okay, really quick, for whoever's running the timer, we are going to be hitting that in just a second. So once my body hits the pool, we're going to be at time. So I will call that. So yeah, this has been Shadow of the Colossus, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us for Mid-Spring Speed Fling, and me specifically for the Shadow of the Colossus run. Even though it was very meme-filled, I had an absolute blast. And I will say, with the way that this time came out, it's probably like 7 to 10 minutes slower than my PB. So like, was it my best run in the world? No. Did I still have a really awesome time being here? Heck yes. So as I said, I am a speedrunner from the speedrunner, streamer, actor, etc. from the DC Metro region. If you are looking to watch speedruns of this and the other games in the Team Eco series that I'm just now learning how to run, or just want to see Let's Plays and nonsense, you are more than welcome to follow my channel. The Crystal Crew would love to have you. Also, if you are interested in speedrunning any of the Team Eco games, our community is really incredible. It's honestly part of the reason why I got so deep into speedrunning in the first place, was because of how great a community the Team Eco Speedruns group is. So if you're looking to learn new tricks and have a good group of people to help teach you, we would love to have you. So please feel free to join the Discord. And otherwise, again, Mid-Spring Speed Fling is raising money for Sweet Relief, and it's just a really incredible cause. So if you have a few dollars to donate to put it forward to musicians who could use the assistance, whether it be with their own lives and paying rent and medical bills, or just helping them through COVID, it means the world to so many of us, believe me. And hey, that was awesome. Thank you so much for being my host, Sporadic.
Oh, sure. It was my pleasure. I had a wonderful time. It's a beautiful game. It was really, really fun to watch you run it. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right. And that's it for this run. So I'm all set. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Great. So come